Hello, good afternoon. So yeah, in typical British fashion, today I'm going to talk about the weather. Okay. So I arrived in Shanghai about this time last year, and it was pretty much the same sort of weather, you know. It was cold and rainy, and I remember I was always wearing this jacket and a hat, you know, just to keep warm. I mean, the winter, so let's talk about the seasons. It's pretty similar to English seasons. You have the 4 seasons, you know. Some parts of Asia, that might sound really obvious, but some parts of Asia, they don't really have that. They live on a different line on the earth, and they have, you know, like parts of Southeast Asia, they have their winter when we have our summer. Well, they don't even really have a winter, they just have a rainy season. It doesn't really get cold in some of these places. In Southeast Asia, it just gets a bit more wet, and then it just goes hot again, or it just gets boggy and humid in their winter, their so-called winter. But here, in this particular area, they do have a winter. They have all 4 seasons. Okay, and they're pretty much at the same time as ours as well, but they're totally different at the same time. I mean, it's the same time of year, but to different extremes. You know, their winter starts around, I mean, I went back to England for 2 weeks, then I came back to China. I'm gonna have a walk through this park, actually, do my video in there rather than just walking down the street. There's lots of old people dancing and that. I'll show you some of that too. I've got a bit of time before I have to start work. So yeah, the winter starts around the same time. Like I said, I came back from England to Shanghai mid-October, and when I left Shanghai to go back to England, the week before I left, I was wearing shorts and t-shirts, and then when I came back, I had to wear a jacket and jeans and wrap up real warm and everything like that. So yeah, the winter starts around mid-October, November, and spring. Last year, spring started around, it was really late. It was like June. That's when it started to get the slightest bit warmer, and then it sort of, rather than slowly get a little bit warmer day by day like in England, it just, like, one week, you know, it's freezing cold, and then the next week it's sort of really hot, you know, 30 degrees, and then a month later it's 38 degrees. It's really extreme, you know. It's really crazy how that happens. So yeah, and then this summer, you know, the summer weather's really nice. I really like it, you know. The spring's really nice. Once it actually finally gets started, the spring is, you know, really long days, not too hot, not too cold. And then the summer is beautiful, you know. It's really hot until it sort of reminds me of my childhood. Like, I know you exaggerate things in your mind when you're younger, you know, you think the summer lasts longer, you think the snow's deeper and things like that, but it sort of feels like that, you know. You have really long, really nice summer nights, you know. You can sit outside until 11:30 without it being too cold or too hot. It's just pleasant, it's just really nice. And then when the summer gets into full swing, it gets to, I've heard a lot of other people living out here complain about it, but I I quite like it. It's when it gets to like 38 degrees and you know, you're just sweating all the time and you have to wear shorts and t-shirts. You know, I actually really like that. I think it's really good. It's a real summer. And that in England, you know, we have 2 weeks of maybe it'll get to like 30 degrees and everybody loses their minds and they think the world's going to end, and they're complaining about how hot it is. But you know, out here, in Shanghai anyway, it gets to 38 degrees and it stays like that for about a month to 2 months. And yeah, but I really like it, you know. It's really good. Everybody's out in the city, you know, when it's that temperature, shorts and t-shirts, really good atmosphere in the city, like you get anywhere where the weather suddenly goes from hot to cold. Then the autumn, yeah, once the 38 degrees finishes, sorry, I'm just watching these people dance while I'm talking to you about this. Playing badminton, doing little dances with flags. I'll show you the people dancing after I finished my very important speech on the weather and climate in Shanghai. Yeah, so this is just my Shanghai talk because I can't really speak for the rest of China. It's such a huge country, like not in England but in America, you know, it's such a huge country that they don't have the same weather in the same areas. That doesn't sound like a very crazy thing, but in England, you know, it'll be snowing in one part and it's usually snowing in the other as well. So yeah, so just for Shanghai. So yeah, so like I said, we have the 4 seasons here, but they're to the extreme. You know, the winters at the moment it's like a steady 3 degrees, 2-3 degrees. Then at night it's sort of, it doesn't really freeze, it just sort of stays at a really cold 1 degree. But it's not like an English 1 degree where it's sort of damp. It's like a bitter, dry cold. And yeah, so I don't really like that because it just feels a lot colder than it actually is. You know, in England it can be freezing, but it doesn't feel that way. But here it really sort of gets to your skin, sort of cuts through you, and it sort of seeps through your clothes, and you can't seem to stay warm no matter what you do. And another problem that the winter causes here is that they don't have, in general, they don't have central heating in houses or apartments. They don't have radiators built into the apartments. Especially mine. I live in an old sort of really Chinese sort of building, and we don't have radiators there. But when I teach, I sort of teach privately, and I go to some really expensive, really high-end apartments where my students live sometimes. And you know, these are like really expensive apartments, but even they have portable heaters dotted all around their apartment, because even the newly built top-end apartments, they don't have radiators built in. I don't know why. It's just, considering how cold it does get here in the winter, you know, I've heard people say like down in the south they don't have radiators built in because they have no need for them, because it's constantly hot. You know, they're more concerned about keeping cool. But in Shanghai, you know, there's no excuse for not having radiators and that. I'm not sure whether they do in the north, you know, where it's cold a lot of the year. But anyway, so yeah, back to, where was I? Back to the summer. So yeah, after the sort of 38 degrees has finished and stuff like that, it goes to so I suppose it's autumn, right? Yeah, so autumn is people sort of interested in what I'm doing. I suppose I do look pretty crazy just standing in a park talking to a phone, which is fair enough. So yeah, autumn sort of starts, I'm trying to think, September, October. Yeah, I suppose it's sort of September it starts to mid-September it starts to cool down a bit. It's not as much 38 degrees, it starts to drop to 30s, which is still really nice. And then all through October, like I said last year, I was wearing shorts and t-shirts up until October, sort of mid-October, late October. And then it's sort of, then November, you're still wearing jeans and jumpers. And then I remember late last year, one day I'd be wearing shorts and t-shirts, the next day it would be raining heavily, the next day it would be really cold, and then it would be shorts and t-shirts again and raining and blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden the temperatures just fell off a cliff, and you get caught out because you look outside and you think, oh, the sky looks clear, you know, it's probably one of those shorts and t-shirts days, and then you get outside and it's freezing cold. But it just came out of nowhere, you know. It seems to have dropped about 10 degrees overnight. Totally off pattern to what it was a couple of days earlier. So yeah, I'm trying to think what else I could say about the weather. And Shanghai, anyway, I've heard people say that they never get snow here. They literally never get snow here. I don't know if that's true or not. You know, I'd like to see some snow. I don't think we will be seeing snow this year. I think it's too late. I think if it was going to come, it would have came a couple of weeks back when it was really cold all the time. I mean, it's a bit nicer today, as you can see. You know, it's not perishing. People are outside dancing in the park, and there's not much breath in the air or anything. So yeah, hopefully you know, it's really bad. I ride my scooter to work and it really cuts through. You have to wear 2 pairs of trousers just to get to work. You know, it'd be nice when I can ride it in the summer and it's 38 and I just shorts and t-shirts and that. So yeah, I can't think anything else I need to say about the temperature really. But I'll quickly show you some of the dancing that's going on in front of me, okay? Okay. Park. Yeah, it's quite a nice little park really. I've never actually been in here before. It's just down the road from the school. Yeah, there's loads of these little parks all over the place. Quite nice, some of them, for a little stroll. They always have these exercise things. All the old people come here and do like basic exercises. Like little gyms really. So yeah, that's it pretty much. Okay, thank you, bye bye.